So how have you used data and technology to enhance your B2B marketing efforts, and what kind of results have you achieved?
My recommendation and what has worked well for myself and my team is getting really close to your revenue operations team or your go-to-market leaders and really understanding your operation model is. What are the growth expectations of the business, and how are all of those data points throughout that model calculated, so that you really understand as a marketer, when you're partnering with your sales counterparts, how can you influence those volumes, those conversion points, and continue to move accounts through their buying journey. And then understanding what type of technology you have. I mean, budgets for us are not unlimited. So I need to make sure that I have the best tech stack, that I'm going to get the most bang for my buck for myself, as well as for our sales organization. And that we're taking those data and insights and influencing those critical moments through the buyer journey. And that's really important for us. But I'd love to hear from the sales side, how you guys are using it.
Well, first of all, I think my favorite marketing technology is something like Slack or Teams or something like that, because it helps you to communicate with sales easily and to be engaged with account plans and account groups and so on. So I might be a bit old school here, but I just believe that we have seen such an evolution of marketing technology in the last 10 years that I sometimes feel that marketers tend to overestimate the impact of technology and forget that marketing is art and science. So they forget the art part. Now we are all looking into new platforms, new tools, threads, and so on. But Clubhouse is just dead, and everyone is jumping on the next thing very quickly. And at the same time, we tend to forget how to write a great text or a press release. Again, I might be a bit old-fashioned here, but I do believe that storytelling matters, that content matters, and that technology is just one side of the coin. And even if I'm like you, a geek, and I love the technology, and I'm spent last of my entire professional life in tech companies, and I'm selling tech companies to tech companies, I still feel that there's the good old Don Draper marketing somewhere, and it does matter.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That digital to human piece is critically important.
Yes,
I totally agree, and I think I've been guilty of this recently, and I love that you said don't forget the art part of what we do. We've had to make changes within our organization, and obviously the industry has changed, and I've had to cut back on tech, and I've had to cut back on budget, and I've had to get into the weeds and write content, and I love that creative element. But what I love about the technology side is that there are tools now available to make my life easier, to make me more productive, and for me to be able to scale what I'm trying to do. And I was sharing an example before we hopped on this webinar, like using certain AI content tools in order to make me more productive. Then it frees me up to be able to have better conversations with my sales team, or to dive into the data and the insight. So that in and of itself, learning how to use the technology and not being cumbersome is an art.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you, for instance, ask yourself, what is building trust? Because at the end of the day, people buy from other people, from human beings. They engage in large budgets and long year multi-contracts and so on, because they trust. And I think the interesting piece in these days is that both technology as well as some great salespeople are able to build trust. If you look at the customer experience digitally, 90% is digital. If it's flawless, if it's fantastic, if it just works, it does build a tremendous amount of trust. And if you then engage with someone who understands and can answer the 2 or 3 questions you might have, and you're sold. So I do believe technology has a role to play in absolutely. Yeah. And for me, this kind of trust element is important. And contrary, so many marketers I see are just messing it up with a crazy customer experience with and yes, stupid press releases.
Yeah, I mean, one additional comment to make is the data and the technology that we have available, and I preface this first with a little bit of context, but the teams have so much data, right? So what are you actually trying to achieve, and how can you use it as part of your day-to-day without it being, being useless? And the tools that we have honed in on and really enabled the teams with, in my opinion, are the foundation pieces for them to really understand how to outbound properly, how to get those first party data intent signals in order to have more personalized one-on-one conversations with their customers and provide that artful conversation instead of overcomplicating it. And that takes time. I mean, that has taken us a couple of years to really understand how to use that technology, how to work and hand off between digital touch points, human touch. And, it's an evolution for sure and especially as more technology comes on the market, it's trying to really understand what is the most beneficial in order for everyone to do their job effectively.
And the more technology we have, the harder it gets to marketeers, I think, to define how they want to be measured and on what should they be measured on.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
What is the number one reason why there is misunderstanding or a gap between marketeers and sales? It's that because sales doesn't understand what marketing are measured on. And if marketing decides I'm measured on SQLs and I'm handing over 2 million SQLs per month, sales will say, okay, why don't you just go for revenue like all of us?